Hello, welcome along to the Irish Golfer Podcast. No Peter Finnan here this week as he goes off gallivanting to the United States. Ronan and Mark here thrown into the hot seat, and delighted to be joined by the Jim McGuinness loving and Michael Murphy enthusiast Mark McGowan. How's the form?
All the better now, Ronan. I feel like I've walked into a classroom here to realise the substitute teacher in. So
yeah, it feels like the first day at school, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think we're going to go run wild today.
Well, like one thing I hate when I turn on one of my usual podcasts and it's first things first, you're not hearing that usual voice presenting. So and then I kind of contemplate for 2 or 3 minutes whether this is worth listening to, and sometimes I might shut off. So hopefully the listeners think we're worth listening to and they stick with us.
Well, I think the two of us can kick on here in Pete's absence.
As Pete says, we'll learn from this and we'll kick on.
Yeah, we'll kick on.
Yeah, he's but in fairness to him now, he's sitting on the plane for 7-8 hours with 4 kids, the missus and the mother-in-law, and after 20 minutes of getting in the air, the kids would be like, "Are we there yet, Daddy?"
Yeah, I'd say the missus and the mother-in-law are carrying most of the weight there now, though. He'll be holed up with his iPad there watching, I don't know, highlights of the Irish Open.
Hopefully not highlights of the game last night. Wouldn't want to depress himself too much. But we had a busy week. Obviously I was at the Irish Open for 3 days, but you were there yesterday. You got to see I suppose all the drama and a couple of collapses as well.
Yeah, it was kind of a strange day. I mean, what started off with so much hope and so much optimism ended up kind of nearly turning into a funeral procession in the stretch. It was, I mean, very disappointing from an Irish point of view that the way McIlroy collapsed. I mean, Shane Lowry had a good run at it. Obviously, just came up a little bit short. So it was very disappointing from an Irish perspective that we didn't get an Irish winner, because that was a tournament that was very much there to be won. But overall, I think it was a really great tournament. It was a great week. It was a great advertisement for Irish golf. Just unfortunately didn't get the winner we were all hoping for.
Yeah, I think before we kind of delve into players and such, we have to really give a shout out to the K Club, like Michael Featherstone, the owner, Paul Heary, GM, Niall Malloy and all his golf team, and Jerry Byrne as well. 6 mils of rain fell in probably under an hour there yesterday, and for the golf course to hold up the way it did, really, really was phenomenal. Because obviously when play was suspended, if you were watching on RTE, you would have seen the highlights from 2016. You can see the water on the greens after the torrential rain they had there all week, but once the rain stopped, it looked like it hadn't rained at all. The course was bone dry, it seemed, and it was really, really a serious advertisement for Irish golf, and probably the best event you're going to get on the DP World Tour. We went for coming up this week, flagship event. It has a lot to follow.
It does, absolutely. And I mean, I was during the rain delay yesterday, and it was 90 minutes we were stopped for, and pretty much for 85 of the 90 minutes it bucketed down. It eased off towards the end of it, but at its heaviest it was as heavy a rain as I've ever seen in Ireland, really. It was just torrential, and how the course was playable so quickly afterwards is, as you said, is testament to the great groundwork that's been done there. And it was, when you were out walking the course afterwards, there was very little sign that amount of rain had fallen. It was still, all the walkways where the spectators were walking was still very dry. Never got churned up, never got mucky and boggy. And the fairways, the greens were all, I mean, they were soft, of course. I mean, it's gonna happen. It was soft anyway with the amount of rain we've had leading into this tournament. We got a couple of good days for the tournament, but I mean, they weren't going to dry out 2 months of rain. But yeah, the course held up incredibly well, and full credit to the team at the K Club.
Yeah, I suppose the only complaint you could have was the 99s were 450. But I think you could do a podcast in itself on that one, but we'll have to leave that for another day. But we had plenty of Irish playing. Obviously, Shane Lowry was tied for third on 12 under par, 2 behind the eventual winner, Vincent Norman. Rory McIlroy was 16th on -9, and we all know we'll get into him in a couple of minutes' time. Mark Power thoroughly impressed on his professional debut, finishing 33rd on 7 under par and picking up a lovely cheque for €40,000. Tom McGibbon 39th on -6, a solid week for him. Conor Purcell made the cut in the number on his Irish Open debut Friday night, just as the sun was going down, he hadn't much light left, and he finished 72nd on -1. Porrick Carrington 79th on level par. Disappointing weekend for him, but overall, like, it was great to see so many Irish players playing over the weekend as well.
It was, absolutely. I mean, Mark Power in particular is, I guess, is your first professional start coming after the Walker Cup, after everything that week entailed, the highs, the lows of it. For him to only find out on the Monday that he was going to be playing in the Irish Open, and then to turn up and put in a really excellent performance. I think it was tied 32nd. You said, wasn't it?
33rd.
33rd. Tied for 33rd on your professional debut in a high quality field like that. And I mean, he looked every bit to the manner born. I followed him for the first part of his round yesterday, and he was actually playing along with Vincent Norman, who went on to win it. And I mean, over the first few holes that I was watching him, like, Power looked the standout player in the group. He birdied the first. He had a great shot into the second. Gave himself a good birdie look. Just slid by. Looked every bit the professional. Now he kind of struggled a little bit coming out after the rain delay, threw in a couple of bogeys, but he said afterwards, that he started thinking to himself, he's like, I need to start thinking like a professional now. Okay, I'm not going to win this tournament, but I'm losing money here. So he turned it around, had finished off with 2 birdies, which probably saved him 15 grand, maybe. It's it's a pretty drastic change from amateur golf, where if you're well down the field, 2 shots, 1 shot, it doesn't really make much difference to you. But once you're playing as a professional, then every shot counts. Every shot is money. And 40 grand is your first week's wages. It's like, if you were able to average that for your career, it wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. And you obviously spoke to him yesterday after his round, and I was quite impressed with the "I'm losing money here" quote, because I suppose the reality of professional golf just hitting you right there and then, and he really, really did look the part, and he had a quiet confidence about him all week. Not so much a bullishness, but you could tell he was really enjoying himself. He was loose as a goose. And a few people came up to me and said he looks a bit like Jordan Spieth with the Under Armour and the kind of the baby face and some of his mannerism on the golf course as well. But to chip in on Friday night on the 18th for an eagle as well, to kind of put himself into contention. Like, he's had a lot of special memories over the last 8, 9, 10 days.
Yeah, he every bit looks like he's been doing it for years. I mean, he just, as you said, he carries himself with a calm assuredness on the golf course, and I mean, he definitely wasn't. I mean, he said, yeah, it was a good week, he would take it and everything, but having put himself into a position where, I mean, he played with the guy who went out and won the tournament. So I mean, it wasn't outside the realms of possibility that he could have, been properly challenging for the title. And he acknowledged that afterwards, and he said he was a little bit disappointed because he thought he'd put himself in a position. He was playing good enough golf. He just didn't get a few putts to drop. And I mean, he definitely wasn't just there to make up the numbers. He was there to play well. He was there to have a go at it. And I mean, that's a great mindset to carry into professional golf. Every week's an opportunity, and he's got another opportunity this week coming up now at DP World Tour School. We'll get into that later on, but he's definitely, it's a hell of a professional debut. Like.
Yeah, and you never know how you're going to make the transition from amateur golf to pro golf, but the best of luck to him. He's had a great start. We'll leave McIlroy now for a couple of minutes, because I think we'd be doing Shane Lowry a disservice if we skip past him, because he did come third, 12 under par, 2 behind Norman. It was a late charge, but the 72 on Saturday kind of really ended his chances, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, even after the round yesterday, he was, he mentioned Saturday and said the Saturday was very disappointing, and Saturday was effectively where he lost the tournament. Missed a couple of chances coming in on Saturday, and he was very disappointed afterwards. He got off, like, he played well yesterday. I mean, it was kind of one of those weird days where it looked like nobody wanted to win the tournament, and I mean, we all kind of on there at the golf course had kind of thought that Lowry was out of it. And next thing, he put in 3 birdies in his 4-hole stretch there on the back 9, and suddenly he was very much back in the tournament. I mean, he eagled the fourth. It was, I mean, it could so easily have been an albatross. He was very, very close. I think he had a great 4-iron from 229 yards, and that really, like, we thought that was going to be the spark to get him going. But he bogeyed. I think it could have been bogeyed 6 maybe, and didn't pick up any more shots then in the front. So I kind of thought that was his chance gone. But then those 3 birdies in the 4-hole stretch, and with nobody else really pulling away, he was very much back in it. But he wasn't actually aware of where he was really standing in the tournament, because he said afterwards that there weren't that many leaderboards on the course. Now we've been very complimentary about to the K Club. Maybe that's the one thing that maybe it was lacking a little bit, because I thought that myself out in the course. There weren't many leaderboards out there, so you were constantly checking your phone to see what else was going on. So Shane got to it was on the 16th green before he actually saw a leaderboard and realised that that I think it was a 13 under was winning it at that point, and he was shocked at that because he thought that he was a good few off the pace, because he was 11 under playing 16. And he'd laid up. He was a long way out. It would have taken like his absolute Sunday best to reach the green, but he was thinking about going for it. But laid up, and then it was a difficult pin to get close, even with a wedge. So he ended up making par there, but he only realised on the green that he was only 2 back. And if he'd have maybe been aware of where he was, he might have taken a different option. So. But it was a good week for Shane. I mean, he played excellent golf all week, and the couple of shots that he dropped on Saturday, or that he didn't, the shots that he didn't pick up on Saturday, I should say, sort of cost him in the end. And although he was disappointed that he didn't win, because he said, he came here to win. Like a 3rd place or a 7th place or a 15th place is, there's not much difference in those.
It's probably the only week of the year that he actually thinks that.
Probably, yeah, probably. But I mean, look, he's playing on tour enough years now. He has so many top 10 finishes, across both tours and everything. The wins are really what's going to separate, what's going to take his career to the next level. I mean, I'm talking about somebody that's won a major championship, won a World Golf Championship, won the biggest event in the DP World Tour, won the Irish Open as an amateur. But, maybe going from like a 6-7 time winner to an 10-12 time winner is what takes him, takes his career sort of like to the next level, or puts him on that higher pedestal. So it was good to hear him talking that way, that, wins are what matters to him, not top 10s, not top 20s.
Yeah, and leading into the week, obviously there was not so much from the Irish media, but there was a lot of stick thrown towards him for his Ryder Cup inclusion ahead of Adrian Moronk. Saw a lot of comparisons with that. So I think to have a good week and stand up and perform, like, sort of justifies his selection as well. So that was important, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. And yeah, he talked about the pressure of an Irish Open anyway. That it's like there's much more intense pressure playing in an Irish Open than your average event week to week, because of all the expectation that's heaped on him. And then he had the added pressure on of being selected. He was the European that hasn't had the best form over the last couple of weeks. Of the 6 Europeans that got the wildcard picks, his form has probably been the most suspect of late. 100% would have picked him if I was Luke Donald, because we all know he's a big time player, and he's like pressurized systems get the best out of him. So I've absolutely no worries about his pick, or no hesitations about it. But that didn't go for all the world's media, and yeah, as you said, he was being criticised in some circles. So I definitely think he came out and answered a lot of those critics this week.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And we're going to get on to Rory. I suppose we could spend nearly half an hour talking about Rory McIlroy and the 16th hole in the K Club, especially after what happened this week. Eagle, he hit the rocks twice then on Saturday, and he had an unfortunate triple bogey on Sunday, which I suppose his already slim chances were died in a watery grave, I suppose.
Yeah, but I guess by the time he reached 16, I mean, yeah, he was going for broke there. Once he hit the water the first time on 16, that was his tournament truly over. So the fact that he went in a second time was kind of largely inconsequential. I mean, we talk about with Shane Lowry, top 10s, top 20s not really mattering. For Rory, it was the same. It was win or lose yesterday. So it didn't matter whether he lost by 2 or whether he lost by 6. But yeah, the damage was done prior to the 16th hole, really. Two previous visits to the water on 7 and on 11, and both of those were bad. On 7 led to a double bogey, and on 11 led it just he managed to get up and down afterwards, but they were very disappointing shots and very uncharacteristic shots. The one on 7, I think he had a 9-iron from about 160 yards. He just didn't really get through it. Kind of hung it up a little bit, pushed it a little bit right, and came down, caught the rocks just short of the green, but bounced back into the water. Then didn't get up and down from the drop zone, and then on the 11th, I think he just had a wedge. He just didn't hit it anywhere near hard enough. Came down short, spun off the green, back down into the water, and that was at that point. We all that looked like it was tournament over for him. Now, as it happened, everybody else tried to throw up on themselves coming in as well. So, in hindsight, he was still very much in the tournament after that bogey in 11, but he probably didn't think so, and nobody watching really thought so. Everybody thought that this is, he's too far back now. But it turned out that he wasn't, but nobody was to know that at the time.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned there everyone kind of throwing it away. Like before the rain delay came, you had McIlroy, Larry, Ryan Fox, Minwoo Lee, Billy Horschel all up there, and it just felt like as the afternoon wore on, the big names never really got going after the rain delay.
Yeah, exactly. That was it. I mean, I think during the rain delay, when you think McIlroy was 1 under through 3 in the middle of the 4th fairway, the par 5 with 200, and I think he had 206 yards in for his second shot, which is probably going to be an 8-iron for Rory, maybe a 7. You think, he's tied for the lead. He's playing well. He's going to come out now to a much wetter golf course. This is where his length is going to play. Being such a bigger advantage. You thought this is just tailor made for him. It's as if the gods have written the script for Rory today, and it's kind of baffling how poorly he and all the other big names played from that point on.
Yeah, it really was. And just looking at his card here, he 2 doubles and a triple, and an eagle as well. He went eagle, double, birdie on Friday afternoon. Like, it really was. It felt like he never really had his A game, but yet again he was there. Even on Saturday, he finished too early for the crowd to kind of get into a frenzy. But as the afternoon wore on Saturday, the leaders kept falling back, and all of a sudden he was in the final group. So, it does raise a couple of questions towards his mental state, because this year he really has struggled to get over the line, even though his consistency is remarkable.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's kind of strange when you look back to his last win at the Scottish Open, when you realise how he didn't necessarily have his A game for the whole week, but how clutch he was coming down the stretch there. And when you contrast that to this week, I mean, obviously we're talking a different golf course, different conditions, different, there's so many different variables in it. The one constant in it is Rory McIlroy. but the Rory McIlroy we saw was wildly different from the Rory McIlroy that played at the Scottish. It's really hard to comprehend quite how poorly he played yesterday. Look, afterwards he just said he was a little bit disappointed. A couple of loose shots cost him. But I think there has to be more than just disappointment there. He had to be absolutely kicking himself yesterday evening. Like, that's, you don't get too many chances to win your home open. I mean, Rory's been, since he turned pro, he's been one of the best players in the world. I mean, he came immediately after turning pro. Everybody could see the potential in this guy, and realistically, if we look at, he's only really had 2 good opportunities to win the Irish Open. I mean, he's kind of, he's had sort of like backdoor top 10s and things like that, but the one in the K Club in 2016 and yesterday, I think the only 2 times he's really sort of been in the position where he could and should go on to win it at an Irish Open, and that's in nearly 15 years as a professional and a dozen years at the very top of the game. So these chances don't come around too often, and he will be absolutely kicking himself.
Yeah, they don't come around too often, and from what he said on Tuesday, he mightn't be around too often either. He was very non-committal at the start of the week, but it really does show you that the Irish Open needs him. Like, he's the Pied Piper, he controls things. It really is played out to his narrative every single week that he does show up. I know he hasn't really guaranteed that he's going to show up next year, but who knows? Royal County Down, links course. He played there before, hosted the tournament there, so that place holds special memories. Just going to ask you on McIlroy and Lowry. Obviously, we know Lowry's bitterly disappointed. You can see how much it means to him. Do you think yesterday, the way McIlroy finished, Irish Open, National Open, he was quite excited about it on Saturday night. Do you think it hurts him?
Oh yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, the crowds that were there, just huge crowds, and the reception that McIlroy got when he walked onto the first tee was, it was spine tingling, like. And I mean, and that continued throughout. I mean, as soon as Rory would hit a shot, as soon as they were walking, like, the crowds were there was just people screaming his name left, right, and center. I mean, it couldn't have been more contrasting. That nobody was interested in Hurley Long and Jordan Smith that were playing along with him. It was kind of like they used to say with Tiger Woods, when people would be playing with Tiger Woods and Tiger would hit a shot and then everybody moves on, and they used to always say it was so difficult for the people playing along with Tiger because you're inconsequential. When you're hitting, everybody's looking at Tiger and everybody's talking about Tiger, and as soon as Tiger hits, everybody's gone. So you never get like the quiet crowd, the still crowd or anything. And that was what it was like yesterday. As soon as McIlroy would hit, everybody was on the move, and everybody was talking about it, everybody's pointing at him, and the other guys may as well not have been there. So yeah, I mean, to be that much the focus of attention, that much I mean, it has to bitterly hurt him.
It's interesting what you said about the crowds, and we really should pay our dues to them. Like, I thought the spectators there last week were just fabulous. I mean, like, I think we notice it more inside the ropes. We kind of get a good feel for it. But like, you're seeing, non-event groups, I suppose, is the way to describe them, getting hearty claps for hitting the shot from 160 into the middle of the green. And you're just kind of thinking that doesn't really happen any other week. And of course, and the following for the Irish players is second to none. Like, Kit Harrington there languishing towards the bottom of the leaderboard over the weekend, teeing off at 20 past 7, half 7, the crack of dawn, and the crowds following him were like just outrageous. Like, there really is a huge graw for him, and there's a graw from him and the players that goes back towards the crowd as well. Like, it is a special atmosphere to be a part of, and we're obviously privileged to be inside the ropes, but it is still a surreal experience.
It is, absolutely. I mean, there was over 40,000 there. I think it was nearly 41,000 in attendance yesterday, and I mean, for an average DP World Tour week, they don't get crowds like that. They absolutely do not get crowds like that. And when you consider that I was down in Dromoland Castle for the KPMG Women's Irish Open last week, and the same thing. All the players were saying that is like, we never see crowds like this week to week playing on the LET, and I mean it's testament to the golf nuts that we have in this country. The appetite that's there for watching top class golf. It's absolutely incredible. I've never seen crowds like it, and maybe at Port Rush in 2012, I was up there at that. That was pretty special. I think that sold out across all 4 days. But it seemed there seemed to be a lot more people in the K Club yesterday than I've ever seen at a golf tournament in Ireland before, and it's absolutely fantastic to see. And all the players again talked about it. They all mentioned the crowd. They all mentioned the support. They all mentioned, what a wonderful feeling it is to be playing in front of such big crowds.
It's not tokenism or anything. You can really, it is sincere.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
See it in their eyes.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I guess some players maybe would sort of play lip service and would give into tokenism every now and then, but absolutely, there was none of that. There was no signs of any of that within this week.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say Irish golf has put on quite the festival over the last fortnight. And just before we wrap up on the Irish Open, my final two pence worth on it anyway, like just the setup overall was, fantastic. Even for spectator, like it's a fantastic viewing course as well. Plenty of places you can stand 60, 70, 80, 100 yards away and still have a great view. Like plenty of food around, like loads of bars on the course, great hospitality. Like there's a real magical atmosphere. And I just thought, like this deal that they have with the DP World Tour was going to come back in 2025 and 2027. I can't wait for it to get back to the K Club now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a venue. It's an area. Everything, it lends itself so well to it. Look, we've often had this conversation about whether the Irish Open should be played on links courses and everything. And I mean, there's definitely an argument for that. But when you see what was put on yesterday, when you see the amount of people that they were able to get in, get around, have all the amenities for them, like, it's hard to argue with that. It's hard. And they've got the space for it. They've got, like, it's tailor made for that. And I mean, look, I guess it was tailor made for that. That was the reason why it was set up and designed that way in the first place, was to have big time championship golf there. And they put on a wonderful show. It was great. And yeah, I absolutely can't wait. 2025 and then 2027, which we're going to assume is going to be shortly before obviously we'll have to wait and see schedules and everything, but shortly before the Ryder Cup at Adair Manor. It's not going to get much better than that. Like.
No, definitely. Right, we better move on because we almost had another Irish winner on the podcast, but unfortunately for Dermot McElroy, he lost out in the playoff at the Challenge de España to French amateur Martin Couvra. Andre Pravan was also in the playoff, but he got eliminated on the first hole. McElroy then bogeyed the second playoff hole and Couvra won with a par. Some final round, shoots 62 and puts himself in the playoff. Like, I know he'll obviously be disappointed, but I suppose more importantly, he came away with the top paycheck.
Yeah, big time. It was kind of like the Shane Lowry Robert Rock at Baltray in 2009. The amateur won, but the pro walks away with the big prize money. Yeah, I mean, it's 33,750 was the prize money for Dermot. And I mean, that's, look, for guys playing on the Challenge Tour, that's a lot of money. That takes care of your expenses, your that covers the guts of a year's worth of it. It's a huge monkey off the back. Sees him climb up to 56th now in the Road to Mallorca rankings. You need to keep it going to kind of get in the promotion picture, but like, he's, after coming from the Euro Pro Tour, his status wouldn't have been too strong. So if he can finish in the top 70 and get himself a stronger status for next year, he can really build that foundation, play regularly. Because for these guys, it's hard. They play maybe 2-3 weeks in a row.
then they won't play for 2 or 3 weeks, and it's hard to kind of build a rhythm and get yourself in a run of form.
Yeah, and he's now into the Challenge Tour event in Portugal this week, which he wouldn't have been without the second place finish. So, I mean, yeah, he needs to look. He jumped up 52 spots in the rankings. Look, if he can hit a hot streak, have another couple of good weeks, he could easily see himself pushing up in, to get into the season finale or to get into the top. Is it top 25 that get the
top 20
that get their DP World Tour cards? So look, he's got a ways to go for that, but hey, this was a big step in the right direction, and it's a great week for him.
It was a big step, and we're coming into the running on the Challenge Tour, and look, the whole year you're kind of faced with conversations about what's coming behind your McIlroys and your Larrys and your Powers. Like Conor Purcell made the cut there at the Irish Open on his debut, and he looked extremely comfortable, said, I'm well able to put it up with these guys and live with them and walk the fairways with them, hold my head up against them. Like, he's 33rd now on the road to Mallorca ahead of 4 events. Like, this is a guy who should be pushing on and getting that DP World Tour card. Like, he can really, really push on now the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, he had a good week. Had a good week at the K Club. It was a little bit unfortunate. He was out very early yesterday morning, and there was quite a lot of fog when he was out. And he said it was quite difficult to play in the fog. Visibility was, look, it was kind of thing they needed. They knew that there was chances where there were going to be rain delays coming in, and they couldn't afford to delay the morning start. If had they pushed it back by an hour, there's a good chance the tournament wouldn't have got finished yesterday. So, unfortunately for Conor and the guys he was playing with, they were sort of like nearly sent out as like the canaries in the coal mine kind of
guinea pigs. Let's see how you get on. Because I play golf yesterday morning at the crack of dawn at 7:30 or so. The fog was like just ridiculous, and my rangefinder was telling me I'd only 6 yards to the pin, even though it felt like more like 182, 183. So, like, I was playing and I was kind of checking the Deep World Tour leaderboard, thinking this thing will hardly go ahead. This fog is too dense to play. But no, fair play to him. He'll be a bit disappointed with his weekend, I'm sure. But like, it's a big month or so coming up on the Challenge Tour now. Like, these guys need to play themselves into form, not even to get their Deep World Tour cards, but they're all going to be going to Q School then afterwards as well. So it'd be good to see the likes of McIlroy, even Caldwell, Purcell, Stewie Grehan, if he can kick on, get those lads pushing up the ranks.
Yeah, as you said, it's kind of been an odd year. There's been no great, like, some of them they've done kind of well in patches and then sort of gone off the boil. So yeah, we've kind of really been waiting for somebody to really take the bull by the horns, and Purcell is the one who's probably done it more so than most until yesterday when Dermot joined him, and Conor was actually Conor was delighted to hear afterwards that he's devastated to hear that Dermot had lost in a playoff, but delighted to hear that he'd had a great week and that he was going to now get into Portugal and pick up a healthy paycheck as well.
No, it's important. It's important to see these guys do well, because people get a false sense of reality. I think it's all the glitz and glam at tour level. And I spoke to John Murphy earlier in the week, and we all know what he's been through mentally, taking that time off. But like, it's a tough slog on the Challenge Tour. And hopefully the lads can kick on now and keep going. Moving on to the LPGA, Steph Meadow obviously didn't play last week in Dromoland. Top 50, made cut. But I suppose the story is Min Woo couldn't get it done in Kildare, but Minji got it done, and there was quite a few shouts of support for Minji in the K Club there over the weekend. But she beat Charlie Hull in the playoff at Kruger City. You'd have to feel for Charlie Hull as well. Like, is she ever going to get over the line?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't see a single shot of this. I was way too busy covering other things. But yeah, I mean, look, Minji Lee is. She is putting her brother to shame. she's a 2-time major winner, and was this now maybe 6 or 7 LPGA wins for, like, she's obviously like an absolute top tier talent. And yeah, per Charlie Hull, yeah, she's come very close a couple of times this year. She's been knocking on the door. Look, she keeps giving herself chances. It'll happen for her one of these days. But But yeah, I mean, for Steph, it just was a week where she never really got going. A couple of she was making plenty of birdies, but the bogeys, I think I'm not sure how many bogeys she had over the 4 rounds, but the bogey count was quite high, and that was what cost her really.
Yeah, like she's 65th in the race, the CME Globe, like, so she's having a consolidating season, another consolidating season, like that's 2 in a row. She's becoming a real staple of the LPGA Tour. And moving on, we had plenty on over the weekend as well, Golf Ireland wise. Castle won the AIG Senior Cup. Rob Moore and Irish Close champions had quite the few weeks. They beat Naas 3-2 with a comeback win for the first time since 2016. Royal Portrush then won the AIG Senior Women's Cup for the first time in 10 years, beating County Sligo. Sorry, Mark, your new club, 3.5 to 1.5. I'm sure everyone's very disappointed down there.
Crushing defeat in the women's and a crushing defeat in the men's semis. Yeah, Rob Moore and came from. I think he was 2 down through
15.
2 down through 15 was he? Against Egan Brady, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, to come from 2 down there and win, I think he won it in the 19th. That was so. I was keeping an eye on as I was walking around the K Club. I was keeping an eye on that on the phone. But crushing defeat from my new club.
Yeah, you may get these new clubs off Finnan now and get that handicap down.
Once
raise some issues, ruffle some feathers, and get yourself on the team next year.
I'm currently going the other direction with the handicap, but you never know.
And Lisburn had a great win in the AIG Men's Barton Shield, beating Carton House, who would have been heavy favourites and stalwarts of these competitions. While Roscommon took the AIG Women's Senior Foursomes title, both were played at Dunleary Golf Club. And the Irish men's footballers mightn't be going to the Euros anytime soon, or any major tournament anytime soon. But the European Senior Team Championships with some great success. Unfortunately, the Irish women's team came up just shy of a gold medal in Flight A, the final of the European Senior Ladies teams, while the Irish men bounced back from their semi-final defeat to England by winning a bronze medal, beating Italy 4-1. We've plenty on this week as well. We've obviously Wentworth, staple of the Deep World Tour flagship event. All 12 Ryder Cuppers in action. That'll be interesting to see how everyone gets on. A lot of eyes will be on Ludwig Aberg and Hogard in particular, I'd imagine.
There will be, yeah, and they've actually all gone out they've all flown to Rome. They were all flying yesterday evening. The entire team, caddies, vice captains, the full works are all going to be in Rome for practice round at Marco Simone and a dinner together, and I think Shane was saying that they're all staying in the same hotel at Wentworth and everything. So there'll be plenty of team get-togethers, and you'd imagine the sort of be like the team bonding that they talk about will be in full flow this week. Like Luke Donald will be doing his best to get everybody all on the same page and singing off the same hymn book. Or
yeah, and the USA obviously took their trip over, and they were kind of shocked by how long the rough was. So it seems the Europeans are really sticking the boot in there, and maybe we could see a similar test to Le Golf National in 2018. Yeah,
that was the thing. The thing I'd heard a lot of people saying was it's going to be different to Le Golf National. It's going to be different to Le Golf. But from the reports about the rough is like maybe it's not going to be too different altogether.
Yeah, well, from a European point of view, I think you have to put a premium on accuracy off the tee rather than length, because we know, unfortunately, the way golf's going, you can bomb at 350 and be in the rough and it's fine. So you need to really kind of put a premium on putting it in play off the tee, which is important, and it's stuff that'll suit our kind of guys as well. We've good, accurate drivers in Fleetwood, Matt Fitzpatrick, Larry, of course, Hatton. Then of course we do have the bombers with the usual brigade. But moving on, at the moment, Connor Stone and Brendan Lawler are currently in action at the G4D Tour at Wentworth. So that's a big event for them. Brendan, fresh off his television duties at the weekend on Sky Sports. So best luck to the two lads. Lauren Walsh ticking along nicely in the pro career, 9th place in the LAT Access 3 under. She's starting to take to this like a duck to water. I know it's not the highest level, but it's a good place to start, and kind of dip your toe into professional ranks?
Yeah, she's got three starts on the Access Series, and I think she's got a second, an eighth, and a ninth. So top tens in all three of them. She did I think she was 2 over the first day, maybe 2 over, maybe 3 over, and that was sort of like that. She was always trying to recover from then, just make sure you make the cut after that. And she progressed every day. She went 74, 70, 69, I think were her 3 rounds. So, I mean, steady progression, but I mean, she's coming into the Access Series very late in the season. So, the top, I think it's the top 5 in the Access Series rankings get LET cards. And so some of the people she's now got 3 events played in it. Some of the people have like a dozen events played, and all the girls at the top of the rankings there are all in the sort of into double figures in events played and everything. So she's extremely unlikely to play her way into the top 5 there. But it's a good sort of foray into the pro ranks for her. I mean, obviously disappointed that she missed out on LPGA Q School, but I mean, they're all stepping stones, and this experience will go a long way to helping her progress onto the LET.
Yeah, and speaking of Q School, at the weekend, Paul McBride, 2017 Walker Cupper for GB&I, used to rubbing shoulders with Cam Young and Will Zalatoris and those fellas in Wake Forest, birdied his last 4 holes to shoot a 64 to come through the first stage of Q School at the weekend. Like, that's pressure. We're after talking about trying to win an Irish Open, the pressure to just grind away and get to that next level and to birdie your last 4 holes. Like, fair play to him. Hope he can go well and continue.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, look, Paul's been playing on the Alps Tour this year, and I mean, on the Alps Tour, you're not like on a good week you might cover your expenses for the week. On a bad week, you're down a lot of money. So those guys, I mean, they deserve enormous amounts of credit for for the grind, for continually pursuing the dream. I mean, it would be absolutely fantastic if Paul was to maybe to. I mean, if he was to get a DP World Tour card, it would be outstanding. But I mean, there's a long way to go for that. So if he was even
get
challenge tour status, would be a big step up for him.
Yeah, and it's that time of year now. Q School's coming thick and fast. We've plenty of big names actually playing this week, both in Sweden and Austria. We've Gavin Moynihan, Alex Maguire, Mark Power. No rest for the wicked for Maguire and Power there. J.R. Galbraith and Simon Bryan playing Q School, as is Peter O'Keefe, 41 years of age, getting back in the saddle.
That'd be a great fairy tale now, wouldn't it? There's hope for everybody if Pete could somehow do it. But it's a big ask for everybody. These Q School weeks are straight, like, it's a war of attrition. It's going out and producing it for a few days in a row, which is going to determine the next 12 months of your career. The pressure is absolutely intense. People used to call it the longest day in golf? Was it on the PGA Tour Q School? Or was like, they used to be six round events. It was just like carnage and everything. But it was.
It's such a tough slog. Like, it really is. Like, as I mentioned at the start, like, people think turning pro, you're gonna make loads of money and it's all going to be, hunky dory and happy go lucky. But like, it really is at the bottom level. You just don't know where you're going week to week, and hopefully the lads can all do well and keep progressing. But I suppose we better move on to our heroes and our villains, Mark. I've plenty. I've a beef to grind with the ice cream salesman this week.
Well, you grind away there. You hit us.
$4.50 for a 99 with no guarantee of a flake. Like, not even a sprinkle or a bit of sauce. It's a scandal.
It's a scandal, but what are you expecting?
I'm not expecting it to be 99. Like, those days are gone, but Jesus, £3 would be the most I pay for an ice cream these days.
So I remember paying, it was £4 sterling up in Port Stewart, but was it 2017 that they hosted the Irish Open? That's 6 years ago.
I was due Nordy lads
sterling,
anyway. Like,
inflation onto that. I'm not surprised that it's 450 now.
My other villain as well is Gary Lineker, who I've the utmost respect for, and I love him on Twitter and everything. I think he speaks really well, but he said the final round of the Irish Open was the worst day's golf he ever saw. Would you go along with that? You were there.
Was this on Twitter he said it?
Yes.
I now want to go and find that and scroll down through the replies and see how far before somebody has shat on golf or something like that.
My two heroes were Mark Power, obviously, just for how he performed on his professional debut, but also Rory McIlroy, and not for how he performed and everything, but he's a man who cares. He's a man who cares. What he did with Make-A-Wish over the week was really, really good. Like, meeting that child was fantastic, and the way he interacted with him made him feel welcome, made him feel almost part of the tournament in many ways. Like, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's on the DP World Tour website, all their socials. But you can tell he's a real father figure. He's grown into the role with Poppy at home and everything. But he gave an interview then to Sky Sports on Saturday, and he remembered the parents' names, which I thought was just a man who, that was a really nice touch. A fella who cares, and like, these things can be tokenism. You're fulfilling a contract by going out and meeting these children every week. He does it every week as well. But no, I thought it was a nice touch. He's a classy guy, and he gets a bad rep. And whatever you do, think from whether he's Irish or he's not Irish, whether he wants to play in the Irish Open or not, whether he's flaky, going to win a major. Like, he's a really, really good person.
I mean, he is, yeah. he is. Look, he's one of those people we all love to complain about every now and then, because look, he's been so successful. He's like, it's the classic Irish thing. As soon as somebody gets a little bit of success, or we all sort of think they're starting to get too big for their boots, and in a lot of cases that is true. But look, I think Rory is. You said, I think he is a really decent guy. He's a good person, a good human being, and that was proof of it there. I mean, yeah, he doesn't have to do that. Sure, it doesn't do his PR image any harm, him doing that. But at the same time, when you watch it, he is so genuine in it. I mean, I think he really enjoys doing it, and I think he's definitely not just fulfilling an obligation there.
No, definitely not. Right. Your heroes and villains.
My hero is David Clifford. Did you see the 3-wood that Clifford hit in the Pro-Am?
Outrageous. I hear the Rory McIlroy plaque has been removed as of Monday morning.
From apparently, according to Twitter, I think it was Conor Moore who hit it up on Twitter, from like 10 or 15 yards beyond
back, yeah, you can see the
McIlroy
plaque in the video as well,
and he hits a 3-wood to 10 feet. Now, David Clifford could also be my villain for the week, because it's not fair that if somebody's that talented at killing football, that he's also a fucking hell of a golfer.
Well, he should be a villain, because he missed the putt by all accounts. So
Well, I'm a terrible putter, so what can I say?
No, but I watched that video, and he takes the club halfway back, and I'm kind of thinking, this is an awful swing, but the release and the power through the ball was
20 feet esque. Like.
Oh, what a golf shot!
I don't know, maybe villain, maybe Stephen Kenny, just because
for those of you who are still listening, and God help you for those who have hung on, Mark has got a new copybook he nicked from the Horizon Irish Open.
It was a gift.
He's filled one page with about 4 or 5 lines, and he just turned over there to a blank page to just out Stephen Kenny. He'd nothing written down. Like, let the record show you had no villain.
I had no villain, that's true. But I covered the two of them with Clifford there. But are you still supporting Kenny, or are you finally into the Kenny out brigade?
He has to go, but I don't hate him. I'm allowed to love him and think he's great and he's a great man and everything, but I'm still, it's time to go.
I get the impression if Stephen Kenny gets sacked, he's gonna do an Enoch Burke. He's gonna keep turning up at Lansdowne Road every day, or it's like, oh, I did nothing wrong. I did my job.
Yeah, well, look, I don't want to get. I was there last night, and I'm still depressed over it, and it's deflating. It was deflating, and McIlroy and Larry not winning the Irish Open either kind of set the tone for my disappointing Sunday. So that's a bit of a sour note to end things on as well.
one thing actually I think has been overlooked is the fact that it was a man called Norman that broke McIlroy's heart at the Irish Open.
Yeah.
After all the sniping back and forth between McIlroy and Greg Norman, it's like, do you think maybe Vincent Norman took that personally?
We'll never know.
Like,
we'll never know.
He's gonna strike a blow for Normans worldwide.
Yeah, not a very glowing winner for the Irish Open, unfortunately. We had our good one with Moronk last year, but every now and then you get a John Catlin or a Vincent Norman.
Well, who knows? Vincent Norman this time, 2 years time, Vincent Norman could be lining up for a first Ryder Cup appearance, and I was talking about the Irish Open being the time that he really sort of sprung to prominence. So,
well, he is only 25. In fairness to him, like who could go on and kick on, like he's up to 76 in the world, second DP World Tour win. Like he is no slouch.
Yeah, and his first win was at the Barbados. It was like the co-sanctioned one with the PGA Tour. So that win gets him a PGA Tour card. So we'll probably see very little of him on the DP World Tour next year.
Yeah, unfortunately. So McIlroy bested by a Norman again. And on that note, best luck to everyone, and thanks very much for tuning in to the maybe 3-4 of you that are still here.
The damn Norman invasion.
Just see the tumbleweed now coming across the table. Mark, thank you very much for putting up with me today.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
We'll do it again soon. Peter's getting the plane turned around now after the shambles of a podcast.